this is probably the next thing that we're going to talk about is probably something that you don't really like want to talk about, but we have to talk about. And I'm sure you already know like the direction that I'm going with this. And there's been an article written about Jalen Hurts, and can you like give like a very like top level synopsis of like what this article like actually states about Jalen Hurts? Because I know that there's like a few things. My big takeaway was like they clearly hate him. What was your takeaway from it?
Yeah, I mean, in summary, this article is basically like makes it seem, which they did a good job of making it seem this way based off of all these sources. There's a bunch of rats on the inside of the Philadelphia um, team, front office, organization that are. It seems like they're very quick to go and talk to the media anonymously about what's going on in the Eagles front office and in the locker room, and basically, um, a lot of guys shared their 2 cents about the Jalen Hurts situation, about the Eagles situation as a whole. It was primarily about Jalen Hurts and how he's not a good leader. He is not um, easily coachable. How some of the struggles and the frustrations with the offense and the passing game lead back to his unwillingness to like make some changes and whatnot. There was one or two people that said good things about him, but majority of the article was pretty much just calling him out for being like stuck in his ways. And um, honestly, at this point, I feel like there's got to be some truth to it if this many people are going out from the
I
Eagles
guess
organization and
I guess the
saying it.
first thing that I want to interject and say is like it's not like everybody like shocked by this. Like these are all breadcrumbs that have been coming out like the last like 3 years. Like
It was
this is
from
every
almost AJ Brown basically saying some of these things like
but also
indirectly.
on top of that as well, the on-field product of like what like everybody freaking out about the scheme and the play calling and this, that, and the third, like like everything. And it's like this is Jalen Hurts' fault. This isn't Kevin. Everybody like coins Kevin Petula as like a bad guy. It was like there are some serious limitations to Jalen Hurts' game. That's why things are getting called the way they are, the whole nine. And so, but the next thing that I wanted to say is like, why has this turned into everybody questioning the integrity of journalism? Like these stories haven't been made up out of thin air as a hit piece to Jalen Hurts. This is talked about with people within the organization who have control, who have power to put out a certain narrative to the media, and it was crafted on purpose. So my next thing that I wanted to hear you say, and it turned into a fucking race war, big shock. And it was like, oh, like if he was a white quarterback, you wouldn't. Well, guess what? I fucking hate JJ McCarthy. I hate Tua, and he's Samoan. I hate Kyler Murray. He's
I know.
Korean. Like it's just like, what are you talking about? If a quarterback does not play well, he gets shit on. So that's not new. None of that's new. It's not a race war. It's not if he's white. It's this, that, and the third. Jalen Hurts just isn't playing that well. So my next thing is why has it turned into like a questioning the integrity on journalism when one, I felt like it was a super well written article, and it kind of laid down the hammer and like put the nail in the coffin of like all of the conversations that me and you have had for like 2 years
I know.
about Jalen Hurts that kind of like confirmed everything that we've ever talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. So your question is why is this now? Why are people questioning journalist integrity? And I think the answer to that is because there's been the Philadelphia media as a whole is, I think they're right with this article. I think that there's obvious truth to this. If this many people and this many sources from inside the building are um, okay with saying this stuff. I understand them going on and saying it anonymously because you want to keep your job. But if there's that many people that feel this way, then where there's smoke, there's probably fire. I think the reason that people are quick to question the integrity of the journalism is I don't remember the guy's name that wrote it, but I think that the Philly media is just so terrible at um
Toxic.
yeah, they're just so toxic that anytime that a negative article comes out about one of the sports teams, the fans reaction is, well, this isn't right, this is wrong, like, why do you guys hate the players, why do you guys hate this team, why do you guys even talk about Philadelphia if you guys don't ever have anything good to say about them? And there's probably been so many things that they've gotten wrong that ended up being okay, that it's now to the point where they might be right about something like this and nobody wants to believe it because they're they don't, because they've gotten things wrong in the past. But the thing with journalism is, like, you're going to get shit wrong. Nobody's 100% correct on every single thing that they've ever reported. But I think when you have this many people coming out and saying these types of things about Jalen Hurts and about the Philadelphia Eagles internally, that there's got to be bits and pieces of that. Maybe not the whole thing, but there's definitely bits and pieces of that that are true.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we just, like I just said, we've talked about this. Isn't like these are everything that was talked about that in the article we've talked about for years. It's not like this is like new shit. Um, Now I want to talk about like the Jalen Hurts debate, because the one thing that I saw a lot of people say was like, why aren't other people writing articles about all these other quarterbacks? It's like, well, their team doesn't hate them. That's why. Like, it's
Yeah.
that simple. Like, do you remember last year when the Colts absolutely thrashed Anthony Richardson? Do you remember like this year when the Dolphins absolutely thrashed Tua? Like, there are examples of this every single year,
Yeah.
that like if there's a narrative that wants to get started, if they're done with a guy or they want to challenge a guy to see if he can overcome this and change his ways, they're going to put that out in the media to see if that's possible. And if it doesn't happen, then they're going to have a conversation with them within the organization if this guy is the guy moving forward. Anyway, the Jalen Hurts debate is really interesting because it's a little infuriating in my opinion, because it turns into it starts with Jalen Hurts isn't playing well at quarterback. Then the defenders automatically turn it into, well, he's a winner. Like, if he's not playing that good at quarterback, then, well, like Jared Goff hasn't won a Super Bowl. It's like, okay, well, Jared Goff is way better than Jalen Hurts. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Like, if you put Jared Goff on the Eagles offense, he would put up the same stats that he puts up like in Detroit, like if not more. Like, there's no debate on that. He would just ball out. Then there's two things that could be true in all of this. Jalen Hurts isn't playing that well at the quarterback position, and the Eagles over the last 4 years have had one of the best defenses, have had one of the best offensive lines, have had some of the best run games, the best wide receiving cores, and the best overall team across the entire NFL. So those two things can be true. So it turns into a conversation of team success when people are trying to have a conversation about Jalen Hurts, the individual playing quarterback, which is like where the disconnect I feel as if is pretty heavy. And we're talking about an organization and a team who's incredibly smart and which will do what's best for the team. Like, Carson Wentz was their guy until he was not their guy. So for everybody to sit around and be like, Jalen Hurts is 100% safe, I just think you're absolutely crazy.
There's one other thing that you forgot to mention, and it ties into the winning piece of it. Yes, the Eagles as a whole have won a lot of football games since he has taken over at quarterback. But the other thing that comes up is the performances in the Super Bowl and some of the playoff performances, which he absolutely deserves credit for those. He played his best football in both of those Super Bowls, and there's absolutely no denying that. And that was one of the things that one of the absolute morons on Twitter tried to say to me.
And that's fine. You pay him $250 million
Exactly.
a year. I expect him to play at a high level. Like, but also at the same time, like that last Super Bowl, like the Chiefs Super Bowl and the run that they went on and all of that
Yeah.
when they just stomped everybody, like it was just very
Everything was
it
clicking
was
on all
all
cylinders
but
until that
before
Super
that
Bowl.
But
No, hold
before
on.
that, the season itself,
Right.
before they
Yeah,
went on
yeah,
the
yeah.
Super Bowl run, it was like the sky was falling until it wasn't. And they went on a great run and put together in a crazy performance, absolutely smashed the Chiefs into irrelevancy. And we're watching the Chiefs how fraudulent that season was for them play out into last year when they won 7 games. And I think we'll watch it play out into this year as well. Like it was close. If the Eagles did not go on that Super Bowl run, it might have even been worse before that. So again, I go ahead. What were you saying? My bad.
Well, what I was going to say was they were just like clicking on all cylinders up until like they were able to run and they were able to pass the football in those playoff games with no problem, and their defense was playing at a crazy level. And the Super Bowl rolled around and the Chiefs sold out on stopping Saquon. They did a great job, but Jalen made plays, the defense made plays. And like that is the thing that is skewing everyone's like thought process on this is they they almost act like he played the Super Bowl as well in the Super Bowl as he did the entire season. Because another thing that got brought up to me was like, well, under Kellen Moore, he put up these stats and he had this QBR and he had this passer rating. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But like, if you watch the games, you could clearly tell that there were so many moments of just like out of rhythm, out of sync, uncomfortability from a passing perspective that um, stalled this offense out if Saquon wasn't ripping off 6 yards of carry. So,
Yeah.
like, when you have Saquon ripping off 6 yard carries and hitting home run type touchdown runs once or twice a game, that opens everything else up for you offensively. So, yes, there will be moments where he looked good in the regular season, but as a collective, that season at the quarterback position for him, and we covered it already, like, take
It was below average.
look, you can look at all the stats
Yeah.
that you want, but if you watch the games, like we sat here and watched every single game, and
We can look at the
at
stats as well. It was below
yeah,
average.
exactly. Like, and that's what I said. I was like, the one guy tried to rally off his stats, and I was like, yeah, man, I watched every game. I know how he did on paper, but I watched every game, and I just want the off. I want the passing game to look a
But
little bit better,
even
and it didn't
even
look
like
good.
the on paper argument, if stats, they had like we talked about it a million times. Like they had a worse passing offense than the Giants. Like it was just
Yeah,
like there's nothing to say. I do want to say this. Has Jalen Hurts had an incredibly successful career so far? Absolutely.
yeah,
There's no denying that.
yeah,
But he has also regressed every single season from the playing quarterback perspective.
yeah.
And like I said before the season, Super Bowl season, the world was falling until it wasn't. And there's one comparison that I want to make, and I hate to do it, but I just want to compare him to Russell Wilson because I think is an extremely decent parallel in this
It's very
situation.
fair.
Because Russ was a perennial winner. The first
Yep.
8 seasons of his career, he had double-digit wins 7 times. And the season that they didn't have double-digit wins, they won 9 games. In those seasons, he had 4,000 plus yard passing seasons. He had a 40 passing touchdown season, multiple 35 touchdown passing seasons, and 30 plus touchdown seasons. A Super Bowl probably should have had 2, but they had that Malcolm Butler interceptions. And
Yeah.
the only thing that you ever hear about Russell Wilson is how much his teammates fucking hate him. And on top of that, the front office and the coaching staff and everybody on his way out of Seattle absolutely shit on Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
stats and all of. Hello.
We lost you after you said absolutely shit on Russell Wilson.
They absolutely shit on Russell Wilson on the way out. And this was a guy who, on paper, has had a way more successful career than Jalen Hurts has thus far. So, like, Jalen Hurts hasn't sniffed a statistical season as Russ has put up, and people are still shocked around the critiques around Jalen Hurts. He's never thrown for over 4,000 yards. He's never thrown for more than 25 touchdowns in the season. So I feel like that if the Eagles and the organization feel as if that there's an opportunity to upgrade at that position, there has been many examples of this across the league of guys who have brought similar or more success at the same exact fucking position. They get moved on from. They get shit on. There's negative articles written about them. Their teammates absolutely hate them. This is not new. And it's just like, I don't understand why this has turned into such a shock for so many people. For you, it feels like you swallowed like the pill and you're like, you know what? Like it just is what it is. Like Jalen Hurts isn't who I thought he was at one point in his career. And that's how also I feel about Jalen Hurts as well. He has so much to prove that he is like a real deal top level QB. Right now, I think that there are some games that he can reach where he's playing above average, but majority of the time, I feel as if when I watch the Eagles offense and I'm watching Jalen Hurts, I'm watching somebody who's struggling playing the quarterback position.
The only thing that I disagree with you saying is that he has to prove that he's a high level elite quarterback. And I don't think he has to even prove that because I don't think he will reach that level ever again.
Okay,
I don't think that
I'm saying that I meant saying that is like he needs to prove that he can reach a certain level again for his career with the Eagles to continue to go longer than what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think that they're in a very tough spot with this because of the amount of money that he is owed. And obviously, you don't want your whole team to absolutely despise your starting quarterback. And you also don't want to owe this much money to a starting quarterback that eventually you will get to the point where you feel like you can't win with him. And honestly, I think we're approaching that level. I think that there's still a year or two left where you can still win with Jalen Hurts if he continues to regress at this level. But in order to do that, you have to make sure that your offensive line is healthy. You have to make sure that Devontae Smith is healthy. You have to make sure that Saquon Barkley is good, and you have to make sure that your defense is a top 10 unit in the NFL.
A top 10,
which is asking
or a top 4 unit in the NFL.
Which is asking a lot from a front office to do to make sure, because one, you can't control injuries, right? But you can control who you bring in and who you pay, which the Eagles are really good at deciding who they pay that they've already drafted. But there have been some free agent signings that are less than thrilling that they have made. So there's a lot of things that I think are in question moving forward, and one of them shouldn't have to be starting quarterback when you pay this guy the amount of money that you pay him.
Yeah, that should be something that is you feel comfortable with,
set in stone.
and all of that. And really too, I mean, like I know that we have like really come at AJ Brown a ton. Like one, we watched a similar scenario happen with Jalen Hurts at Alabama where he got benched. He got benched in a championship game for Tua because they felt that they gave him a better chance. AJ Brown is his best friend. They were, I guess at some point they were best friends, and
at some point
they despise each other now. Like there is clearly something off in this entire situation. This isn't just a random like hit piece that somebody decided to come out. If you watch the Eagles, if you pay attention to the Eagles, if you just like if you just watch the NFL in general, there is something very fragile that goes on within the Eagles organization, and it starts with Jalen Hurts. He gets paid the money. He's the guy. He's the whole nine. And I just think as of right now, the organization is probably sitting here being like, we need to apply some pressure to Jalen Hurts to show that like we are serious, that we could potentially move on from you. You need to step this shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He absolutely needs to play better. Otherwise, there will be. I think what will end up happening is this. This is, I think, how the Jalen Hurts career over the next like few years will end up going. The Eagles are going to have to figure out paying the defensive side of the football. They've got to pay Cooper DeJean. They've got to pay Quinyon Mitchell, and they still have to pay Jalen Carter. I think that once the spotlight is even more on Jalen Hurts, and he has to be the one to drag this team and this offense to a level of what Philly fans have expected from this team over the last few years, I think that's realistically when Philadelphia fans will begin to turn on him, because I don't know, and I don't think he's capable of leading a team with average to slightly above average talent to the level that Philadelphia Eagles fans expect.
Also, the people who are fucking complaining online, like, you guys clearly have never worked at a job where you're relied on in any way, shape, or form. Like, you're a loser. Like, if you can't sit here and understand that, like, when you are getting paid fucking $250 million and you're the face of $1 billion franchise, that there might be some pressure applied on you when you're not living up to expectations. Like, welcome to the fucking real world. Like, I don't know how fucking stupid these people are. Like, you're literally on social media and you're like, oh, where's the hit piece about Brock Purdy? It's like, well, the Niners like Brock Purdy, so they're not gonna fucking write a hit piece about him.
They like Brock Purdy, and they like the way that he's been playing. If they are happy with the way that he's been playing with the amount of money that they give him, perfect. That's all you can ask for if you're a Niners fan. The 49ers have just been absolutely decimated with injuries. So, like, what are you supposed to what are you supposed to do with if you're Brock Purdy? He's taken them relatively far for the amount of injuries and whatnot that they have had. But yeah, if you are an organization and you're paying a guy a shit ton of money and you're happy with the way that he's playing, there you go. That's all that's realistically what it comes down to. And for the retard that tried to come at me sorry, that tried to come at me and make this a racial thing, that was
fuck off.
That's just like, you have to be completely brain dead because to go at somebody online for something like that when you have absolutely no idea what their backstory is and how they actually feel about quarterbacks in the NFL and about people in general.
Also, if you can drum this up to being a race thing, then fuck you. Because it
has nothing to do with that.
I shit on all races evenly.
See, like, part of me, as this was happening, this guy's bio said like Ravens fan. I almost wanted to be like, I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Lamar Jackson's my favorite player ever.
Am I racist for that? Yeah, like that. It would have been funny, but also like, this guy is just so caught up in making it a race thing that it's like, all right, dude, I hope you get the help that you need.
I hope he doesn't. If you come in here with some race shit in the comments, like, you're an idiot. You are a fucking idiot. Get a job.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stacks and bring it back, man, and take vision.